Hi friends, this is Sarvajin here. Welcome to my networking channel. Hope all are doing good. And today the topic I'm going to discuss about QoS policing, dual rate, three color stages. So why dual rate? There are two rates. One is CIR and PIR. What I'm going to explain. And three color stages. That means there are three stages like conforming, exceeding, and violating. So before that, I'm going to give a overview of policing. So policing done at the service provider or the ISPN. So assume whenever you are getting any subscription from the ISP always give a certain bandwidth rate, right? So that we call it as CIR, committed information rate. So the packets always you have to use within the committed information rate. If it exceeds, what happen? The policer will simply drop or remark the packet. So that is the purpose of policing. So policing always done at the ISPN and shaping is always done at the customer end. So always best practice is we have to buffer the traffic at the customer end, then you have to send the traffic to ISP to prevent the ISP from dropping the packets. From at the egress end, so the policer should not drop the packet. So on a safer end, always we have to buffer the traffic at the customer end, then we have to send the packet to the ISP end. So that is the safer thing we have to do, because always there will be a service level agreement between the customer and the provider end. So how we are handling the SLA violation is done with both shaping and the policing. So in case of shaping, what we'll do, we'll just limit the bit rate. We'll just buffer the traffic to a certain bit rate, right? We'll buffer the traffic, but there is no data loss. But in case of policing, when it exceeds a certain bandwidth rate, what happen automatically? The packets will be dropped, right? So the policer will drop the packet. So this category, we call it as a dual rate three color. So why dual rate? There are two rates I'm going to use. One is a CIR, what we call it as a committed information rate. So once that is exceed the CIR, what we call it as a PIR. It is above the CIR, that is a peak information rate. So like two color stages in the previous video, this also having three stages like conforming, exceeding, and violating. So only difference is in the previous video there will be BC bucket and the excess bucket. Instead of excess bucket, we are using a PIR bucket, that is a peak information rate bucket. So I'm going to explain what is that. So if the number of bytes transferred is less than or equal to number of tokens in the BC bucket, we call it as a conforming. So in that case, what happened? The police will take the number of tokens from the bucket and use it for confirming. At the same time, the police also will take the tokens from the some tokens from the PAR bucket also. So what I mean to say is, assume this link is having only 64 kbs. So the link will compare this as a bucket. So this bucket is holding only 64 kbs, right? And if they are receiving the packet, and if the packet receiving is around 62 kbs, that means it is lesser than the number of bytes in the bucket, right? Number of tokens in the bucket. So in that case, what they can do, the police or can take the tokens from the bucket and you can use it for confirming. So that is the purpose of confirming. So the packets that fall under CIR is confirming. The same time, the policer can also take the some amount of tokens from the PER bucket also. So that is the purpose of confirming. So what about exceeding? Exceeding is nothing but if the packet is not confirming, if the number of bytes transferred, what the policer, whenever you receive the number of bytes or number of packets, the number of bytes received is less than or equal to the number of bucket in the PER, right? In the PER, then we call it as an exceeding. So that means the policer will take the bucket and use it for exceeding. That's the reason I told here the packet that exceed the CER, but it should be below the peak information rate. So then we call it as an exceeding. So that means if the number of bytes transferred is less than or equal to the number of tokens in this PER bucket, so then we will call this as the policer. What he will do, he will take the buckets, he will take the tokens from the bucket and he'll proceed for exceeding. So that means still we can use the excess traffic. So always the traffic is not smooth all the times. Sometimes we'll use the excess traffic also, and if the ISP is agreeing for this excess capability or the excess, we call this as a excess burst. That means this data is not smooth. Sometimes we'll receive the excess traffic on the link. So if the ISP is agreeing, then we can go ahead with this corresponding three stages. That means the packets that exceed the CER but below the PR we call it as an exceeding. So packets which is above the PR, right? The packets are not confirming or exceeding, then the police will drop or violate the packets. So that is the purpose of violation. So that is the thing we call it as a three stages. One is a confirming, exceeding, and violating. So why it is a dual rate? We are using two rate. One is a committed information rate and one is a peak information rate. So assume the committed information rate is around 1 to 8,000 The peak we can set it as 256,000 like that. So it is always peak information rate is always above this CIR, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go configure this on this corresponding router R2. So I'm going to configure the protocol ICMP, and I'm going to create a class map first. Then I'm going to create the policy map. Then I'm going to configure the stages, three stages, dual rate, three stages. So let us see how to configure. Go to R2 and go to the configuration mode. So class map, class 1. Let us match the protocol as. So match the protocol, we'll make it as ICMP. So then what we'll do, we'll just create a policy map. So once I've done the class map, so I'm going to create the policy map. So let us go to configuration mode and let us create the policy map. Let us give the name as police. And now let us map the class name. Class name is what I've done, class 1. I hope you're following this. Then police. So we'll make it as 128.0.0, right? I get told so this is the CIR. Then we have to configure the. So pool is what we have to do. We have to do the CIR. Yeah, CIR is, let us make it as 128.0.0. Then another one is PIR, right? Peak information rate. So let us make it as 25600. So the peak information rate is nothing but it is using the peak traffic, right? It is using the excess burst capability. So excess burst is nothing but we can also allow the excess. The police can, or the ISP end, they can allow the excess traffic. Sometimes always the traffic is not always smooth. Sometimes we'll receive the excess packet. In that case, we can go for this particular specific policy. So okay, so I have done this. Then what I'm going to do, confirm action. So this also having three stages. So the confirm action is transmit, and the exceed action is we have to set that DCP marking. Set DCP transmit 0. So what it will do, it will again remark the packet, but still it is allow the packet to exceed, right? So that is the purpose of exceed action. So the violate action is nothing but it will drop the packet. So once I have done this, I'm going to map this to this corresponding interface fast Ethernet 0 by 0. So go to configuration mode, interface fast Ethernet 0 by 0, service policy input police, right? So now I have done with the configuration. So I have created the class map, I have created the policy map, and I configured confirming, exceeding, and violating, and I configured these two bucket, BC bucket, and the one is CER and another one is PR. So I configured both these things and I map to this corresponding interface. So once I have done this mapping, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to start the initiator ping from R1 to R2. So let us go to R1. So let us do a basic ping. Ping 192.168.1.2. I'm not able to ping. So let us configure it. Go to the configuration mode, interface, fast Ethernet 0 by 0. IP address is 192.168.1.1. 255.255.255.0. Let us do a no shut. So this interface I'm configuring 1.1. So now let us do a ping. So I'm able to ping, right? So now what I'm going to do, let us view the policy map now. Show policy map, interface fast Ethernet 0 by 0. Okay, so now I configured it. Now I'm going to initiate the continuous ping from source to the destination. That is from the customer end to the provider end. So you're able to see, right, there is CER, we have configured this one, and this is a PER, peak information rate, and this is a BC bucket, committed burst, and this is an excess burst. So now let us see. Let us go to the corresponding R1. Let us give the continuous ping, repeat. We can increase the number of counts, right? So I'm starting the number of counts, and now let us see the R2. So now you can see, right, the number of stages. One is CER 1.50 and PER, and these are the confirmed packets, and these are the exceeded one. So which is not matching both confirm and exceed, which fall into this category, violation category. So right, so the basic is the police or what he do, he will either accept or he will drop or remark the traffic. That is the purpose of policer. But in this second and the third video, my last video and this third video, what is the thing is, In these three categories, the polyzer can still allow the excess traffic. So that we call it as an excess burst capability. So the link is the polyzer or the ISP, and they can allow still the excess capability. So that is the purpose of exceeding. Once it exceeds this exceeded limit, then it will go, the package will be dropped. So that is that is the only difference. So only thing is here we are using two buckets. One is BC bucket and another one is PER bucket. In the last video, there are this P instead of PER bucket, we'll be using excess bucket. So this we are using PIR bucket. That is the only difference. So I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos. Thanks and have a wonderful day. Thank you.